always have this moment where I'm not sure if it's recording, but I see a red dot. So ML, good morning on this week where we've had the best week, heat wave, shall I say, in the UK ever. For me, being originally from Ghana, my DNA loves this.
Yes.
How are you today, and how have you been enjoying the sunshine?
Yeah, no, good. Thank you. I'm fortunate that I have a house that's not too warm and a great office with aircon. So, no, good. No, great, right?
Oh,
it's a great feeling, brings you energy, it's fantastic.
That's it. And I like to encourage people to carry their own sunshine, but I think when the sun's outside as well, it makes that job a lot easier. So
yeah, you want to get up, you want to get out there. I've been waking up super early, it's bright. I love it.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, I can't wait. I know from trying to arrange this, you've been on the road, you've been in planes, you've been traveling, spreading the good word as head of business strategy for EMEA for Goldman Sachs, but also having the other role, equally important, I would say, naturally, of executive coach, and also trustee, and also mother of an amazing daughter who I've been privileged to get to know a little bit through your introduction. So thank you for saying yes. And without further ado, we'll make this conversational and let's perhaps start with your formal education, because I love it and I'm fascinated by the focus and dedication to excellence that I think I can see as a theme throughout your educational pursuits. Yeah. Can you walk us through your choices, like what led you to choose the sort of degree, subjects, etc. that you chose?
Yeah, so it's interesting because the French system, and before I go in, by the way, good morning, and thank you so much for having me. This is awesome. I love it. So I'm delighted to be here. Go back to, you take me back a long time, Kofi. I look young, but, I am old. The French system, the French educational system is interesting, quite different from the British one in a sense where it's quite vocational and from a very early age. So I was about 13 or 14 when it was about choosing my second language. Where I come from in the northeast of France, back in the day, German was automatic. There's a lot of kids who do even German as a first language because of the history, etc. So I did English, absolutely loved it. Discovered that languages were really my thing. German was not appealing to me. So we had to do a whole thing to get Spanish as a second language. And at the same time, have this sort of family gathering and friends to have a discussion about, should we do Spanish? Should we do German? And I remember my aunt had a friend who was an economist at the time. And he said, look, do Spanish because it's going to be the second biggest language in the world. It's going to be language that's going to be used for business, etc. So from an early age, I was really like, okay, business, communicating, let's do Spanish.
Sure.
And then I did that. And then I had the privilege to come to the UK and do a business studies degree where I could actually bring the two together. And we had languages, we had business studies and a marketing major, which would also, I think, determine the next step in my career. So it was a good foundation, I think, to start with.
No, wonderful. Now, that's really interesting in terms of the consideration and influence of family members,
yes,
but also trying to work out what the future holds. And at 13, 14, I mean, credit to you because I had no clue, and I think only very recently I got a clue as to where I went. But I like that intersectionality between business, communication, and then you've got the marketing aspect, which I think kind of sums up all the skills you need for life, essentially, really. So
and I call it, we get a lot of, as you know, we talk to young people a lot in terms of career, in terms of plan. But I would always say, have a direction of travel. That's all you need, when you're young, and then it kind of shapes it up. So the direction of travel was there, right?
Yeah.
We wanted languages, we wanted business, and I think there was an outside lens straight away. What else is there? A curiosity from my part.
You know what? I can already tell this is going to be, I can't wait to watch this again. So gem number one, direction of travel for me, because I've often felt from a young age that I needed to know the mode of transport, how long it was going to take me. But actually, when you break it down and you say the direction of travel, I think it can be liberating, because actually you just need to know, I roughly want to get there. Any way that you get me towards that is actually really helpful. So gem number one, I'm gonna log that one in. But let's explore your career highlights, because if we build on that, once you came out of your studies, you have had exposure to a wide variety of financial services firms, and of course now at one of the world's most renowned and prestigious financial services firms, in my opinion. I applied. I interviewed 13 times. I did not get
How many times?
13.
13, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. There was people. I think they wanted me, but but in the end I didn't quite get the job. But for you, was this path on purpose in terms of the variety within financial services, with a view to ending up where you've landed now for the last 10.5 years with Goldman Sachs?
No, I mean, that's the honest truth, right? I think there's possibly two on purpose elements in my career. I fell into banking a little bit thanks to my language skills, right? Initially, what I wanted, talk about direction of travel, I wanted, I was attracted to travel. I was attracted to sales. I really liked that. I learned about consumer behavior at uni. I like behavior. And I was attracted to selling something tangible. So I got 2 out of 3. And then I think the on-purpose stuff was staying with large brands, but also brands that culturally made sense to me. I started in a large, UBS, etc., a culture that suited me really, really well. So then it's more of a cultural match, if you like, a cultural story that, a UBS has got a similar culture to, a Morgan Stanley, to a Goldman. So I think culture is really important. And I only stayed 1 year in another organization because culture was not a fit for me. It just didn't work, right? And I think it's about, again, if you think about career success, it's going to be about an environment where you can fully function and you can fully express yourself and tap into your strength and have the freedom to do that. So the other on-purpose part was the transition in my career, right? Where I was very clear. I wanted to do something else. I went back to school for it. That was the direction of travel. That was as far as I went on that one. But that was the on-purpose part. And the rest, career is a lot about luck and timing and right place, right time, right?
Yeah, you're right. And I think much to be picked up on that. What I really enjoy you stress is the importance of the environment that you find yourself in.
Yes.
And for me, the environment is really culture and the people, like shared values, shared mission, a similar way of doing things, similar aspirations. Being in the right place for you will allow you to be authentically you, and then grow with those around you and do some meaningful work whilst building meaningful connections, which Ray Dalio talks about in his book Principles, that I read recently. So I do love that, and I think there's much to be said around knowing where you belong, and then if it doesn't work, you have the choice and exercise that rather than spend years making yourself miserable. So gem number 2.
Second gem. Yeah. And let me take it a little bit further, because, I was probably was the only French Black woman on the trading floor. And back then the trading floor was full of men. The only ladies were ladies who, did a great job of being assistants, but not many sales or trading, and I probably was the only Black woman then. So it's also like finding that environment back then where you can tap into that, you can fully be yourself, authenticity, etc. So I was very lucky. I got that. It could have been very different, I think.
Yeah. No, yes, there is luck, but I also say sometimes that luck is when preparation meets the opportunity, and I think the preparation is your academic pursuits of excellence, and
Yeah.
that positioned you to be able to take advantage of the opportunity. So flowers back to you again, flowers back to you. You did it. So longevity within financial services, again, is something that's evident within your career.
Mm.
And like you say, it could have been very different. And I know personally and speaking to people that their experience of financial services,
Yeah.
which sometimes at the cutting edge in terms of competition and excellence and all the rest of it, is not always an easy place to sustain a career, but you've done it. So to help others, what have been your guiding principles along this journey, really?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, and it's one that we should all think about, right? I mean, big branding marketing agencies do exactly that, work with brands and help them stay relevant. And it's the same for us. You know, how do we stay relevant in a world that keeps changing, keeps moving, keeps evolving, right? So I would say that's the intention. Like when I go into my role, into my career, I'm going to stay relevant. It means one needs a growth mindset to be able to do that and sort of be challenged and be curious and want to grow and adapt. And I think that the third one would be stay agile and ride that wave, right? And then if you have to step off that wave to ride another one, then go for it, right? So I would say there's that. I would also say I definitely think there is some luck, right place, right time for sure. There's a factor. And I would say the last thing that drives me a lot is excellence. This is my drive. This is my turbo. Excellence in my work, in how I interact with my clients, with my colleagues. And that's my, I don't know how to say to you, that's my North Star.
Okay.
And I think that's been very, you know, it's served me well.
Yeah, no, I can well imagine. And I've said often that, you know, how we do anything can be how we do everything. And I'm not surprised because knowing a bit about your background, you know, making it onto the national basketball team, there's a certain level of commitment and doing the hard things, even when, you know, it's cold and it's dark and the outside training or doing strength and conditioning, but you've done that. And to see that application across different areas in your life, I'm not surprised that what you touch works because you'll stay the course, trust the process, and be consistent with it. So yeah, excellence is a good one. Another gem.
I think you're right. I think growing up as an athlete from a very young age, you get a gift of discipline, the gift of not giving up, and the gift of resilience, of structure, of being self-starting. To your point, you have to go train, whatever you have to do it. The gift of commitment. I now realize these are skills that to this day I'm blessed with. So I would also say, you know, if some people have parents and you see your kid sports is a brilliant way to, you don't have to be a national athlete, right? Any kind of sport makes you commit, and it's brilliant for future.
Yeah, no, you're 100% on the money in terms of the parallels and interconnectivity between sport and life in general. For me, it's cycling. Like if there's someone says let's go running, you can have that, keep it. But for me, cycling and getting to race last year through consistent commitment to hard things really opened my eyes to actually, if I can learn this new skill and apply it at high levels, why can't I apply it to other things, you know? So yeah, all in God's time, but brilliant. And just talking a bit about some of the obstacles that you're proud to overcome, can you share some of those that have sort of stuck in your mind over your career?
I think I mean, look, I had over my career, you know, I had a pretty good ride for a while. And then it was more on the balance with family, and I don't want to go into too personal, but
Sure.
that was a big moment where I had to sort of like reevaluate my choices, my balance, my life, where I spend my time. But it's interesting because it also brought me some positives, right? I was always saying I will never be an entrepreneur. Never. I can never work for myself. I would be a really good number two. I used to say that for years.
Yeah.
And then life got me to actually do my own thing. And I did it for 3 years and I was good at it, right? And I was like, wow, I can be an entrepreneur. Like, I can do this. That was a big aha moment. So an obstacle became an opportunity, as often does. And then the second big one was, okay, after 3-4 years of entrepreneurship, I was like, okay, life is better. I can maybe go back to a role, but I didn't want to go back to trading floors, right? Which was the obvious choice. So I persevered, and that was tough, to try and find a different path. And how did I do that? Well, I sought feedback, and I became, maybe did I have a big ego? Maybe before, because I'm like, hey, my career it's easy. I've got this, right? To the point where I don't anymore. And I share that story a lot. I surrendered, completely surrendered, and start asking for help, asking for advice, meeting people for coffee and say, I don't know what to do next. And that was the most liberating moment of my career. So again, an obstacle became an opportunity, to the point where a friend of mine said, have you thought about this? And I just went, nope. And he said, take a look, because, you speak languages, you've got finance background, you should look into this. I'm like, okay. And I'm curious by nature. So I got back home, took a look, and there was a job at GS, which is something I could have done, good job. So I applied for it and sent my CV, etc. And, this is at 3.5-4 years out of the market. And the recruiter to this day is my angel, and I speak to him still to this day. He came back to me and said, forget about this. Here's a different role that we think you should be really good at. And I hadn't seen this role.
Oh, wow.
And it's the role I'm in now.
Oh, wow.
Right? A recruiter, you know that, Kofi. You in talent, you're a recruiter who does his job well, who matched me to a role that they had internally. And so again, these obstacles became the biggest opportunity in my life.
This is fantastic. It comes back to the direction of travel,
Going
in a direction, but not knowing the specifics of the mode. And then serendipity does what serendipity often does.
Love that.
It puts people in your way to shape your destiny and move you forward. So you had a role, applied for it, told no, there is this that you have to see. And 10.5 years later, you're in the organization, doing that role, building your remit and responsibilities, traveling around the world. And I'm just like,
yeah. Can you imagine if I hadn't surrendered in the first place? I wouldn't be here today.
Yeah, it's interesting because that surrender, Pete, I think we have it as children where we expect to not know or be able to do things, and there is a freedom with which a child will try and walk, you see, and start to ride a bike and do all manner of other things. And then at some point, I don't know what happens. I don't know if you've got any views on it. We become focused on, we must know, we must show as knowledgeable. There's some sort of strong attachment to this sense of self and ego. I don't know, but have you got any views on where that's coming from? Like, what is this?
I mean, you're right. We go from child to adult. We go from complete freedom of expression, of movement, to a cage that we build for ourselves, right? And that cage is called, social norms, expectations, culture, and we put ourselves willingly into that cage for a long time, until we realize we're in a cage, right? A lot of people don't realize they're in a cage. And our cage is so tough. Like, we are toughest on ourselves. We really are. Like we take it to extremes, and we are prisoners of that for a very, very long time. Judgment, self-judgment, self-criticism, expectation that we set ourselves, which are a big, talk about obstacles. That's the big one with a capital O.
That's huge. Those are huge things. Thank you for the reflections on that. And when it comes to perhaps like the tools that you've used to propel yourself or elevate yourself along the journey, what are some of the things that others may also perhaps find useful that you've been able to tap into to just help you get to where you are now, essentially?
Yeah, I think having the ability to reflect, I talked about seeking feedback, asking for help for sure, but also having the humility, honesty, ability to reflect. I journal quite a bit. I never read it back, but it's not the point of reading it back.
I wanted to show you something. It's so funny. This is my journal.
Oh no, this is mine. Look, it's much prettier.
It is that you just, when you said that, I didn't prepare this. This is my journal, and guess where it's from?
Well, manifestation, Kofi. That's it.
Yeah.
Manifesting.
Wow. Sorry, I distracted you. So you journal and you reflect.
Yeah, journaling, reflecting, talking to friends, taking a different perspective on things. So that's been something that I've done. And also I work every day on my EQ, every day. I work on my presence. I work on my self-awareness. I work on my communication style, my precision. There's something I really value is being precise in my communication. That's something for me that I worked really hard on, because I think as coaches, we need to have a rich vocabulary. And for a linguist, it's quite an interesting challenge as well. And I've worked hard on that, and I still work hard on that. And I would say that's it. But I would say the key to a lot of, and I don't know what you think about that, but I really feel self-awareness is key to many, many, many things.
I will have to wholeheartedly agree with you from so many different perspectives. One, it is said that we often learn more from reflecting on experiences than being in the experience itself. And that speaks to the self-awareness piece insofar as when something happens, good or bad, whatever, you're reacting to it in real time without necessary consciousness of the rationale or reasons for that. But when you sit back and take the time to reflect on it, you, like you say, find ways in which you might refine a future instance of a similar thing. And life does have these patterns where there could be good relationships, strained relationships, there could be new opportunities to put yourself out of your comfort zone. And if you can be aware and really elevate that directly or through the help of a coach, wonderful coach like yourself or I, then you can then be more responsible for, okay, if this happens again, I will not be passive in the journey. I will be active in being very laser sharp with my communication, or I will be excited about the opportunity that's presented rather than filled with fear. Remembering my child that would get on a bike and fall over 15 times, but still in the process of getting to ride it. So yeah, I think I can't agree with you more. I can't agree with you more. I think self-awareness is the start of any change that we want to make in our lives.
That's right. And I think over the years, I've also overlaid that reflection with a lot of gratitude. Huge amount. And I think that's also changed even if it's bad times, I'm grateful for them because I know I'm going to get something out of it. Maybe not straight away, but I know I will. So it's having that conviction, being grateful for what's presented to you. And I go, every night I do that exercise. 3 things you're grateful for today, right? Every single night. We know that our brains is wired for negativity, so we need to practice that muscle, exercise that muscle. And that's really changed my perception, made me less anxious, less stressed. And I have more peace with whatever's presented. It's been interesting.
I am going to borrow that as well, because I am grateful generally, but I don't do that. And I think doing it just before you go to bed, well, kind of sows some seeds for the subconscious process when you're the dreams, you just go into that world. So, anyway, I have more questions to ask, but I'm reflecting on how amazing that's going to be. So if anyone's listening, let's do this together. 3 things before we go to bed that we're grateful for. I'm sure that's going to make us more positive. Thank you. I need to think more about what to ask you next, actually, because you've really inspired me on that one. Oh, yes, that was what I wanted to talk to you about. So what was your call to add another dimension to your career and become an executive coach? Because knowing people that have worked at Goldman Sachs, knowing you that work there, it is an excellent organization and a demanding one in terms of the desire for the employees, but the commitment of the organization to be really in the top of any market it operates in. So knowing that you have that, knowing that you have family and a beautiful daughter, knowing that you've got your own passions outside of that, what made you say, oh, you know what, let me make some time for this other thing that I want to do?
Well, first of all, it suits me, excellence, performance. I'm that type of person. So I'm in an environment, it's not for everyone, in an environment, again, I come back to this, that suits me. It's performance driven, it's value creation, it's value add. I think I tap into my commercial mindset. I have 15, 20 years of sales. I understand the culture of a financial organization. So the challenge is interesting. How do you make what you do, ML, in a finance organization valuable? And my role at GS is to work with our best clients, and I coach a huge amount of C-suites around EMEA. I coach their teams, and they're big clients of the firm, right? So I represent the firm in a different way. I like that, and I think it's differentiated, it's different, it's really interesting, and I think I like that challenge. I really do. The feedback is so far positive and well received. We do events for clients that nobody else does, etc., etc. So it's a really big, but I'm super grateful to GS for being innovative and thinking outside the box like they do to have a role like mine. It's really interesting.
That's brilliant. And at the moment, are you coaching internally? Well, I say internally through GS solely, or if someone externally was like, I love what ML is saying, do you have capacity to be able to coach people that aren't clients of GS, or is that tricky to do?
So we can, as long as we respect the compliance, guidelines. But so we can a little bit, depending on the what the guidelines say. But most of my role is for our clients. But I do a lot for charity. I'm a trustee, as you know, of a fantastic charity called My Big Career, which is a charity that wants to empower young people from a disadvantaged background to aspire to university, etc., etc. So we have an array of coaches. We have, and I've spent a lot of time more on the fundraising part, on opening my network, and it's been really, really successful. We have now Justin Okunwezi as an ambassador, who kindly, sort of agreed to be an ambassador for us. So, so I do a lot of, I can do a lot of coaching engagements on behalf of my charity. So when I do stuff outside of GS, I always ask people to donate to My Big Career. So it's like I'm putting my skill at the service of something that's really important to me as well, and it's good. It works well.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant that you're giving of yourself and your time. For me, I say it, giving is living for me. That's when I feel most alive, is supporting others. And I think it's part and parcel of who you are, because it's how I came to know of you through the Encircle program. You were giving of yourself and your time to talk about sort of navigating change and and sort of career transitions in this era where change remains the one constant with AI,
Indeed. Yeah.
etc. And I was drawn to you by the insights that came from a coaching lens, but were backed with a rich breadth of things that you'd read and sort of data to sort of back up the points of view that you encouraged us to think about. So I'm really glad that you're doing that with My Big Career, and other people get to benefit from that. So thank you. And I think when it comes to themes, are there some general themes that you explore or support your clients with generally? Because I find sometimes with coaching, maybe because of our backgrounds or our passions, we may gravitate towards certain topics. I don't know if you've got any that come to your mind.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? That's, we went to the same coaching school, I believe. So it is really interesting to, again, as a coach, presence is key, and to your point, right? Do we have a certain bias because of our past or our strengths to bring them somewhere? I've always wondered that, but maybe we don't need to answer that question. What comes often with the people, so let's not forget that most of my clients are in financial services, so a very quantitative world, where it's still the old adage of promoting somebody who makes a lot of money to be a leader and to manage people. So different job, right? So some clever leaders go, okay, so what I've done so far got me there, but now I'm a leader and I know nothing about leadership. I need a coach and I need to go back to leadership school. That's what I call it. And I think clever leaders do that. And we work with them on managing that transition, and growing different skill set. I think the one that is common often is delegation. A lot of leaders, especially when they've just started leadership, don't really know what leadership is, so they hang on to the old job. The team below them goes, what are you doing? That's not where you expect it to be. So I think we spend a lot of time on delegation models and building confidence, right? We spend a lot of time on self-awareness. That's where I start, always. And sometimes I can spend a year on self-awareness. And then we add on from there. That's really very much my foundation. I call it, we switch the light on and we see what we do in full light, and then in full light, we have choices and options. I think up management, stakeholder management is another one that leaders don't necessarily do with intention or structure. So we work on that. And again, they respond well to that because of the world we're in. I have a lot of frameworks, a lot of tools. They love it because it becomes concrete. Leadership is really difficult. It's not concrete. If you're a quant, if you're someone who's working with numbers all day, it's really, really different skill. And I would say communication, obviously, having that awareness that as a leader, you need to adapt to your people, not the other way around. And you need to adapt your communication style. You know that, your leadership style. And then the one for women that really, really stands out is personal brand.
Okay.
Huge.
Let's get into that. So I'd love to get into that. I don't want to add too much as my own sort of thoughts and biases into this. So tell me a bit more about personal branding and how that comes to your sessions.
Yeah. So, well, first of all, I was super curious because I've been doing personal branding workshops for, 6-7 years now. And they are the top one. And it's always super amazing. So I'm like, and I always get amazing feedback. And I'm like, it's not a new topic, right? So I keep trying to understand what is different about what I do. And I think what I do, we had a branding workshop for organizations that we work with and say, hey, you're an organization, let us help you with your branding. And I literally use that template and reflected on it and said, well, we are an organization. I am an organization. Me is the organization. So why don't I apply a lot of the best practices that organization and big brands have to me and decompose it this way? And I think that's the trick. I think that's how people really get it, And I said, well, number one, we give a framework again, right? Very clear. And say, you go on a personal discovery. The first element that goes into a brand is you. How do you discover you? You get feedback. You do assessments with a coach. You get, you go to a SWOT analysis. You do a little exercise to really reflect on who you are. You answer questions. I have a big questionnaire. You try and extract your values, your purpose, what makes you different. You put it all there in a package, right? And that's why I was talking to you about before, about the self-judgment. Like people will go, I'm not good at numbers, so I leave that out, because I don't like that. Or especially on the what I'm not good at, people don't want to, to showcase.
Yeah.
And I'm saying, well, I'm afraid a brand only works if it's authentic. And it's about owning who you are. That's simple. It's not about creating something out of thin air that looks in your eyes that it should be, this is how I want to be. This is what I should be like, to your point earlier about from child to adult. We're becoming child again, in a sense where we say, hey, I'm really bad at math. That's me. But you know what? I'm like super creative. Like that's me too, right? So the idea of owning your narrative and learning what the big brands do, they do that super well. And I think it resonates, it empowers people, it makes them thinking strategically about how they want to be perceived and felt. I think it impacts presence, because if you know exactly what you bring in the room, you're going to feel good. You know what you're bringing, the good, the bad, but it's okay. I own it, right? I always use an example where someone said to me, hoping to upset me a little bit, saying, you're so hard to follow. You're all over the place. And I looked at this lady and I said, that's absolutely right. I am all over the place. And she was, but that's me. That's part of my brand. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I think women naturally do wonder because they stepped into the workplace later. Men were already there. They're not men. They're in the workplace and they go, so who am I? Like, how do I differentiate myself? And I think to this day, women wonder, I'm not a man, but what am I? Right? And I think they're very keen on finding your voice, etc., etc. So it's a huge topic.
I think I could spend the rest of our time together going into that, but to touch on it a little bit in terms of what you've talked about, I like this whole idea of not having to recreate, because when we started with the topic personal branding, I was like, oh, okay, so we're going to create something.
Yes.
But actually, what you said is it's not creation, it's really illuminating and accepting who we are. And it makes me remember, so my cat, I have a cat, not to listen. but I will believe I work for him most of the time, because he will walk into any room that I'm in with this poise and this energy where he's looking for something he can eat, something he can mess up. And if there's nothing that takes his fancy, he'll just lie on the floor and be like, yeah, you're lucky to have me here. And I love him for that cat energy. So I think there's part of what you said about personal brand where you will stand who you are.
Yes.
And then 1 in 8 billion, like there is no one else like ML or like
exactly.
So why try to be anything other than
correct? Why try to be standard? It's like, who said, first of all, what is standard, right? Seriously, it's hard. And also, I was talking about that yesterday. Let's imagine you are, to your point, creating something, right? Now you have to keep it up, right?
Yeah.
You have to, the power of brand as well is consistency, right? So let's say I decided to be a hardcore, power dresser who never smiles. Then I'm going to try and do that. And it uses a huge amount of energy, to your point.
So much.
Energy is a limited resource. So are you spending energy in the right place? And usually people who have a burnout, or a breakdown of some kind have done that. They've used a lot of energy in being somebody they thought people wanted. And it's very common, rather than, again, being authentic, owning the good and bad, proceeding with peace and with gratitude and with pride through life, admitting your weakness, therefore collaborating with people because you know you need help on this one, etc. So much better. You free your performance,
yeah,
right?
I think you've literally solved like a large chunk of world issues, because by being authentic and, like you say, saving that energy, you can create so much more. And I think to me, it speaks of duality, but also juxtaposition. So I may be similar to you. Like sometimes I can be outside and I can get energy from being with people, but sometimes I also like to be on my own and just not necessarily with music, just in my own peace of mind. And other times, you know, I look forward to nothing else but high octane, high adrenaline pursuits. And other times sitting in nature, like I was doing last night, listening to the birds. But that is us, like owning that, like the permission you shared to really own that vulnerability that's required, but the authenticity that is generated means for closer connection, because you know who you're getting. Like I'm not looking at you as a power dressed, never smiling person. I know the human, and I trust the human. Versus
nothing. To your point, right? What do big brands do? You know, I went to the tennis the other day, and I noticed, I was preparing for that personal branding workshop, and I noticed all the sponsors around the court and the color dominating the tournament, which belongs to a bank. And I'm like, and I said to the workshop, I said, why are these brands spending millions in sponsorship? What are they trying to do? And funnily enough, people were in the room like they didn't really understand it. And somebody said, connect. I said, that's right. That's right. Branding is about this ability to connect. To your point, the more I'm authentic, the more I'm going to connect. The more I'm going to bring people around me who have similar values, or maybe different values to me, but that's okay. It's a connection too. I'm learning, right? And I think that's the point. Personal brand is about the power of connecting. And let's not forget that at senior level, it enables visibility and it enables career progression. Performance is not when people who work hard and say to me, I don't understand, I'm not promoted, I work really hard. I said, yeah, but you've got no brand. So nobody knows what you're doing and nobody knows who you are. You're never going to get promoted until you start crafting your brand and your narrative and having a platform for visibility. Like, wow. And a lot of people still to this day are really shocked by that.
I can imagine. What is coming to my attention is, from a very early time in your career, you know, going back to your studies, you talk about business, you talk about marketing, you talk about communication. Those three things are literally in what we've just discussed. You're talking about the business of people and progressing an organization. You're talking about how to communicate that authenticity.
Right.
And part of doing that communication is, how do we market ourselves, but not in the showy way, but in an authentic way of,
no, exactly.
This is me, and this is what I do, this is how I feel, and look at that direction of travel. It's following through. Following through.
Oh no, you're right, and I think it's navigating a career that way rather than accumulating academic. I don't know, right? Because you can be the best in the room with thousands of diplomas and academic accolade, but if you don't know how to communicate and how to connect with people, it's not going to happen.
No, so true. True. And I think key now and going forward more than ever, with the rise of technology that can disrupt AI and generative AI and etc. I think we will need more and more people who have, to your point, the emotional awareness, IQ, to bridge the gap between what technology can bring us and help us harness and how it connects to people. We should write a book. I mean, you should write a book.
I'm writing one, but that'd be the second one.
Definitely. Well, I want to come on to like future plans and aspirations, but with the question of balance is something that I call myself the chief balance officer.
I love that.
in my
I'm going to steal that for my next post. Is that okay?
definitely chief balance officer, but also doubling as the chief vibes officer. So good vibes is where you'll find me. Balance specifically, how do you balance the requirements of each different seats you occupy? Because we talked about it. Parent,
Yeah.
yes. We've talked about
Daughter.
a daughter, we talked about an impressive career which involves a lot of travel. We've talked about the trustee side of things. We've talked about the coaching that comes as part of your remit, and not to mention the time that you volunteer.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm curious.
Yeah.
Now, balance. How do you maintain the balance so that you can sustain what you do and not go?
Yeah. Oh, I do that too.
Okay.
I am absolutely aligned with my purpose.
Okay.
My purpose on this earth is to help, listen, empower, support people. I do that in my job, which is amazing, right? I'm super grateful for that every day. It's not a job for me, it's life.
Yeah.
And I do that obviously with my daughter, you've met. I do that with my mother. I'm an only child as well, so I have to balance that with mom. With my friends, absolutely important, but it's kind of natural to me because that's what drives me. That's here. That's me, right? So I think I go through life in an authentic way. I have time for sports because it's been part of my life all the time.
Yeah.
There's a lot of non-negotiable, if you like. Travel is something I love.
Yes.
A lot of people always say to me, "Oh, you travel all the time," because I think travel is an interesting one. I was born to travel. I'm curious. I'm a linguist. I love traveling. I love being on planes. It's always been my thing. It's my job. I love it. I'm so aligned to my desires, right? It's not a chore. And a lot of people look at it and go, "Oh my God, you travel so much." I'm like, yeah, but I love it. Otherwise I wouldn't do it. But yes, this concept of equilibrium is something that is very dear to me. And yes, when you give me the list, it sounds like I have a lot, but I think it's just the question of equilibrium. And if you have that, if you have peace, you can juggle 5,000 things. I've been reflecting on that a lot. Last year was an extremely challenging year for me, where, to your point, it was up and down, and I was like, my system got completely shattered, which made me rebuild a better system again, right? I worked with a coach. I did a lot of work, and I feel my system and my place in the system is much healthier. You know about drama triangle. I think I was too much of a rescuer. I've stepped out of that, and I'm not in the triangle any longer. I've worked a lot on that, and my system is better. It's balanced, and it feels really good. So thank you for asking that question. I do believe that I was talking about that to ladies yesterday. It's the key to success.
Yeah.
It's that balance.
You've said some things that have just like exploded this sense of connection with you in a way that I wasn't prepared for. Because with these things we say we'll make it again.
Yeah.
But when you say about equilibrium and you say about when you have peace, you can do 5,000 things, and you talk about loving what it is that you do. I'm really pleased for you that you found that place and have gone from, quite candidly, a place of adversity to be able to refocus on how things show up in your life and how you show up in life and pivot in the way that you have, because it really, 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 really resonates, which is why I'm saying about this sort of, because
interesting. Yeah.
I kind of, I look at the last year of my life and I would say peace, using my joy as my GPS, and real gratitude and love for being present have been those main. And I look at what I've done and achieved, this being one of those things, and it doesn't feel like work because I think the environment, the people I'm around, are conducive to allow me to really flourish. And when you don't have that, I'm really seeing now from what you say how that really, you're building a prison for your potential, effectively.
That's it. Yeah. I mean, that prison, it's a lifetime project to get out of it. Right. I really do. I think it's a lifetime project, and it's going against the norm, going against the grain sometimes, going against what people expect you to do, living your life as you want to live your life, standing tall. You travel all the time. Oh, do you want to move in with your partner? Or do you ever move in? And you just go, look, no, it doesn't suit me. I'm good like that.
Yeah.
And I think, you have this, we talked about this before. As a child, you just go, wow, I'm free, la, la, la. And then as an adult, when you go, wow, I'm free, people go, can I put you back in your cage, please? Because you'll make me feel better.
Yeah. I think it's definitely, to avoid, my top tip would be intentional about the people, the places, and the pursuits that you spend your time in. Knowing,
absolutely.
At our age, where we sit now, if we get to the average of our genders, we have for sure less days ahead of us than we have behind us. We could do more. Maybe we could be doing on break past it, but I think with intentionality, you find the people that form part of the extended tribe. They don't have to be your family, far from it.
Exactly.
They share the values and the vision and are on the same frequency when it comes to collaboration and caring. Whatever your thing is, adventure, whatever it is, they're there. So I love what you said there, and I think I need to stop reflecting life. So the wicked you said there.
Yeah, we can take that offline one day. But so I think that notion, everybody has to find obviously what their equilibrium is, right? Some people might say, hey, I need to juggle 3 things, and some people say I have 15, I have 20. But as long as you've got this core, I think, to your point, peace. I think peace is really a turbo to everything else. Freedom, and I also think, finding what motivates you, what's important to you, what you value, and being aligned to that as much as possible makes a lot of things effortless.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like work when you love what you're doing and who you're with. It doesn't seem like work at all. Oh, I love that. So many tips that you've shared, and I can't wait to more broadly with the people of the world on YouTube and other formats when they can, because there's a lot in there that reminds me that there's a lot that unites us more so than separates us, because there you are telling your story as a French lady doing her thing, and it hit me with such a force of awareness and connectivity that like talking about me, but this is you. So how am I feeling and empathy, you're saying so deeply. So I'm going to be watching this myself, and it'll be me and you and my mum. If that's all it is, then so be it. But I think it's already been
right. Yeah, same here. And the other thing, the blessing we have, Kofi, is that all these challenges, up and downs that come our way make us better coaches. So, I'm always so grateful. I'm grateful for 2024. It was one of the worst years of my life. I would say the worst year of my life. But boy, am I a better coach with that now. Really better. I was already had a lot of empathy, etc., of understanding, but now, and funnily enough, I've had friends going through similar things. I'm better equipped to have the conversations. I'm better equipped to leave judgment at the door, and so on. So, and I think that's the thing we need to reflect. We are extremely lucky to be in a position where hardship for us is fuel for others. And we have that platform. Don't forget that.
Dang. I'm taking that on board. I'm taking that on board. And I've felt it, but I don't know whether I've been able to, I haven't verbalized it the way you have. So again, it's in here. And I'm mindful that our plane is cruising. In fact, it's gone out of orbit.
It's a long haul.
Yeah, so I need to bring it back down to planet
Yes.
Earth, knowing that
Let's
you and I
land.
have a hard stop in a few minutes. But
Yes.
when it comes to the future for you, I know it's going to be bright. Like I said, how you do anything, be how you do everything. But are there any future aspirations that you are working on, thinking about, that you could share with people so that they can also, like me, follow your journey with interest, you know?
So look, I've been posting on LinkedIn for over 5 years. I've proudly built over 3,000 followers all on my own. I want more, obviously, but I'm really proud of that. I've commitment to this platform. So the idea that I got was, because I get various, you post as well, various reaction. And I thought, you know what? I want to publish some of these posts in a book. And I want to bring two means of communication. One that is transient, that's here and not here anymore. And I want one that is permanent, where people can go back to, refer to, take notes. I'm including a lot of tips. And that's my project. So I'm hoping it's quite a lot of work, even if it's there already. I'm hoping to do that by the end of the year. I would love to have, like you, a podcast or some kind of platform. That's also one of my dreams.
It'd be so great.
I will do it one day. And you know what, Kofi, same thing. Direction of travel is all I do, right? So that's where I'm going. When, how, who with, I don't know, and I don't want to know. I'm open to discover, and see what comes up. And I believe in manifestation as well. So I'll do the book and see where it goes. I'm excited by the question mark. I used to be extremely anxious about the question mark when I was younger. Now I welcome the question mark with open arms.
Well, this is where the growth is going to come from, isn't it? Not the comfort zone, but by pushing yourself to the limits. And, to if it reassures you, you already know it anyway, but we can do some things, but we can't do everything at the same time.
No, exactly.
So what I love is you're connected to why, and you're connected to what, and the how. That is the direction of travel, like that will manifest itself down the line.
Yeah.
And I think to that point, I am looking at publishing, and I've spoken to a publisher. So if you haven't got that, maybe we can connect offline, because they've got a really wonderful solution that I think could be interesting to you on that journey.
I would love to.
The universe does it. You share something, and then the how.
There you go. The how works out.
Yeah, we'll do that.
It's meant to be.
Definitely. And so the last couple of questions, I think one for me is there like a North Star or a motto that guides you through life? I know you talked about excellence earlier, so it may be related to that, and maybe something different, but I'm always interested in, the thing or the phrase that, if people have one, that kind of keeps them going, good times, bad times, whenever, really. Do you have anything like that?
I mean, look, I think gratitude is my anchor.
Okay.
My gratitude overlay, even if it sucks, really helps me. My commitment to fitness really does as well, grounds me a lot. I've got a lot of non-negotiables when it comes to that. And my travel. My travel is a source of energy. That's where, source of freedom. I tap into it a lot. So these are it's my motto, if you like. Is my motto, really, I would say, to summarize it, I would say, be curious. And that's why we do what we do, because we're curious about people. We want to know. I think leading through life with curiosity is one of the best things we can do, because people don't.
Yeah, you're right. And it's an adventure. It's a marvelous adventure.
Yes.
So why walk from place of living to place of work and return the same every day? And I love
dying.
And I love this idea of traveling, which is a big thing for me too, because as a coach, when we partner with people, we can take them to places, through the magic we co-create from their present. And I think travel is the physical manifestation of that, because when you're not in your surroundings, you're forced to adapt and do things differently. Where is the shop? How do you get things? And then you find, like, with all your mind must be like, well, drop me 10,000 feet in a parachute anywhere, I will figure something out. I'll find something to eat and I'll find some entertainment.
Of course.
Because you've done so many times now that new is no longer something for you necessary to be anxious about, really. So
No,
yeah.
love it. And you know, we
Brilliant.
talk about connection. And one thing that I pride myself of is any country I go to, I connect with people. I find a way.
You
right?
will. I know that. I know that. We,
you know, it's amazing, right?
Yeah.
How? I'm interested. I'm curious. I want to know, how's business? What are you doing? Are you not too hot today? And people look at you like if you're crazy because nobody talks to them like that.
Yeah.
You know, and I do that a lot in France because French people have got a real big negativity bias. And you turn it around and say, gosh, you look really tired. It's been a long day for you. And then I say, do you mind? No. Please, no, right? You connect first, then things happen.
Yeah.
It's really simple to me.
That is the power of your presence, you know, Emma. You see people, but I think more than see people,
Yes.
you also feel people. This is the empathy within you that allows you to connect on a human to human level, because we all want to belong to something or somewhere.
Indeed.
You see it and you do that. So amazing. My last question, I'm gutted we have to go, but this has been a brilliant start today.
Oh,
but
thank you. It's been fun.
Thank you. If you could go back in time, what, if anything, would you tell your younger self? And this is by way of inspiring others to embrace wisdom, but earlier in their careers or lives.
Yeah, indeed. Wisdom is key. I would say think about crafting your brand early. Think about owning your strength early. Do a what you're good at, because we tend to again focus on what we're not good at.
Yeah.
You have a lifetime to develop the not good at. But if you're not sure of what you've got in your bag in the first place, it's going to be harder.
Sure.
It's going to be harder to position yourself. It's going to be harder to go for jobs with clarity. It's going to be, I think having that awareness about what you're good at early and leaning on that early is a game changer. It's a game changer in terms of the difficult questions you've been asked. It's a game changer in terms of saying, well, I'm good at this, but I could develop that, but that's why I'm here. And it changes, as I say, your presence. And I would definitely, and I do, we do have a lot of young people now thinking about how to package themselves because of AI. They're in that generation where they all use AI for their summaries, their CVs, as you know, and nothing transpires anymore. And I'm like, who are you? Who are you? And I think they will be pushed to answer that question much earlier than us, because they're going to disappear into this tech, tunnel and never come out of it.
Yeah. Wow. What gems. I honestly, to stay present and join you on the journey, I've lost count of the gems, but I can't wait to watch this again, because as I say, we often learn more from reflecting on the experience than being in it ourselves. But I have to thank you from the bottom of my heart, and thank you on behalf of everyone that's going to tune in and watch this, to hear a strong woman, a powerful woman who is authentic in knowing and valuing who you are, and bringing that light and love to the world with such empathy and articulation, because you speak more languages than I have fingers on my hands probably. So to do it in English as eloquently as you've done is no mean feat. So once again, flowers to you, Emma, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Kofi. Thank you for having me.
Brilliant. It's been really good. Have a great weekend and rest of the day.
You take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.